It was an explosion. It didn't even really make it to air. What actually happened, like but she was just screaming at me.
Welcome back to Behind the Edit, your go-to podcast for unpacking the actual reality behind reality TV. I'm Lachlan Guertin.
And I'm Tahlia Pritchard, and today we've got not one but two special guests, past MAFS contestants, joining us.
It's a very exciting episode.
Very chaotic.
Very chaotic. First, we spoke with Lindle from last year's season of MAFS. She unpacked everything to do with Feedback Week.
Yeah, she had some really interesting stuff to say about couple swapping, because we didn't see that this season, but she talked about the benefits for her relationship and I guess her journey on the show from last season when she did go through the couple swap experiment.
We also spoke with Ash. He was one of the intruder grooms this season. He was paired with psychic medium Maddie, and I'd say they were definitely the most memorable intruders maybe ever. Maybe my favourite. I was going to say my favourite intruder couple, but maybe just my favourite weird pairing of all time. Well, they were only in about 5 episodes all up.
I wish it was more.
Definitely. He had a lot to say about what we didn't get to see from his relationship with Maddie. He also shared some insight into his relationship with Natalie now.
Yeah, they were rumoured to be dating after they were spotted together at an event. So he spilt the tea on that.
Before we get into that with Ash, though, here is our chat with Lindle Grace.
Lindle, thanks so much for joining us today.
Thanks for having me.
What are your thoughts on watching this new season of Married at First Sight?
I've had that question so much, and my first response is literally always, I'm just so glad that I'm not in it. There's so much going on and there's so much mess, and like, even the experts are like more harsh. I don't know, it's like a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
It makes me a little bit angry because I wish that they were like that. Like, we were never allowed to put these labels on people. I've been thinking about that a lot. Like, the fact that John has said misogynistic is a massive thing that we were not allowed to say. We were not allowed to say that's misogynistic. We're not allowed to say it's sexist. We're not allowed to say it's racist. They literally always told us, don't use those words. Let the audience decide. We can't put that label on people.
Wow, okay.
And so it's like, how are they just okay with doing that now? Because like there was so much behavior that was those things, like very clearly black and white those things, and we were just told like no, just talk around it, don't use that word, describe it, and you're like, okay, all right.
That's so interesting though, because I did notice the experts are taking a harder line, and like John definitely seems like, I'm calling him like grumpy daddy John vibes is happening on that on that lounge every Sunday. But it's so interesting to know that, you guys had to talk around it and you couldn't actually call people out for potentially what they are.
Even saying things like conservative or things like that is like I know that maybe those things are a little bit like taboo, I suppose, when you're trying to talk to an Australian audience in some ways, but I don't know, like there's some behaviour that's just black and white.
How do you think you would have gone on this year's season in terms of the cast dynamic?
I don't know how I would have gone on this season. I think I would have, I mean, probably maybe a little bit the same, just sitting back being like, what the Like, where do they find these people? I don't know how they find these people every single year that are this extreme yuckiness.
Yeah.
Something that's different about this season is that they got rid of the couple swap and they've introduced Feedback Week instead. Do you think there's a reason you were obviously part of the couple swap experiment. Do you think there's a reason they would have cut that out?
Like, I think it was quite a problematic experiment. I think that even within the couples who were in the cast, like people didn't want to do it. And it was weird. Like, do you let them sleep in the bed? Do they sleep on the couch? Like, who's comfortable with what? All these questions coming up. Like, I don't think that it was received well by cast or audience. And then I also think that like they kind of looked at it and was like, yeah, well, there's better ways that we can do this kind of situation where we can bring couples in together to talk about things or like have separate meetings, but not, I guess, have someone come and live with you for 3 days.
What was your reaction when the couple swap was introduced?
I mean, look, I'm not going to lie. I was a little bit relieved. Just like things were so bad in my relationship at that time. I needed to be around somebody else, and rather than like just listening to what Cam had to say and being in that dynamic, I had to kind of be exposed to something else. And like I will hand on heart say that even though the partner swap I have issues with, it did change the trajectory of my relationship 100%.
Really?
Like I cried the first day because like Ollie's like still one of my like closest friends, I think, and I have so much respect for him just because he made it such a safe space. And literally, like, the first day, I like sat down on the couch. He was like, you know, this is a safe space. You can talk to me about anything. And I was sitting like this, as far away as I could get from him, because I felt so awkward about, I guess, letting that wall down and coming out of a preservation mode that I'd kind of gotten into with Cam, of just like, if I'm just good and I do what he wants me to do and I don't spark any debates and I don't pick any issues, then everything's going to be fine and he'll stay in the room and it'll all be okay. And I think then, like, being in an environment with someone who was like, so how are you feeling? I was like, huh, what? No, we didn't talk about that. No. And it was so hard. I cried to my, like, producer and Voxy later, just because I was like, I feel like if I let that wall down, if I let that happen, it's going to be floodgates of, like, I don't know how to go back to that mode. So, yeah, It did definitely make me be like, wow, this isn't actually who I am. Like, I need to figure some stuff out, I guess.
That's so interesting, because I feel like the general perception of the couple swap is that they pair certain people together in the hopes that they'll end up cheating. Whereas like you guys are a perfect example that it was beneficial to your relationship, seeing someone else. Like, that's so interesting.
I mean, I would definitely not say that was the common experience. Like, I think it was even Ed that Ollie was like, I didn't need this for my relationship and I don't agree with it, but I think Lindle needed it, and I did. Like, I absolutely did. Yeah, it's interesting. I think it can be delivered in a different way. I don't think we need to be moving in with other people, but I do think that, like, maybe like what they do with the girls and the boys nights, where they like separate everybody away from their partners and they're in an environment where they can kind of talk about it and compare without having to say it in front of their partner on a couch with experts, or at a dinner party where there's wine and yelling and everyone can kind of do it unmediated. It's just like you're sitting back with your friends and going, oh, well, this is just, it's a bit you know? And then getting validation and kind of figuring out that perspective rather than just doing it in your head.
I think you raise a really good point too of doing it away from your partner, because you're not often having that separation, I imagine. So having that space, and in your situation where you're kind of feeling like you're walking on eggshells a lot, and then having that space to regroup. Yeah. We saw, I guess, for feedback week this week that I think some couples did have separate moments with other people, but I'm not sure how many in the end. But I guess to touch on a couple like Jack and Tori, their feedback seemed to be always delivered with them together as a couple. Oh no, they separated at one point, didn't they?
They put Tori with Jaden for their little cafe date, and then Jade with Jack, which I think weird. You can look at them two different ways, where Jaden and Tori was to create drama and I guess to kind of give her a different perspective. Jade and Jack, he was very openly like, Jade's my type. I've dated girls like Jade before, and you could see the producers maybe pairing them for a potential couple swap.
I mean, they would have just been licking their lips at that stuff. Like, seriously, this guy needs like to just really put a filter on it. Like, how has he said so many problematic things and he's still not learning?
Well, even when he was called out, I think at the last commitment ceremony, and they kind of like added up all this stuff that he's done over the last few weeks, and then he's like to Tori later, he's like, well, how do you think that made me feel?
Yeah.
Yes, I saw that. And she was like, well, the question was how I feel. And I was like, good girl, well done. Like, that's, thank you. But as soon as he was like, yeah, but how do you think it makes me feel? It's like, how do you think it makes me feel to have all of these mistakes that I've made pointed out to me in a public setting? Ashamed. Yep. And that's how it should make you feel. Yeah. And hopefully that shame will push you to do something different.
I do think another interesting part about Jack is, like, we've had so many villains on this show. This is season 11. We've never really seen a villain maybe owning up to his behavior so much. Like, every time he's called out for doing something wrong, he says, yep, I said it. Which I don't know if it makes it better, but it's almost like he's not denying it or trying to be like cause excuses. Either. Yeah, he is not changing it. But I think it's just interesting to he's just like, yep, I called people whales. Yep.
And it's so okay to him. Like this is the thing. What world has he been living in? And like what group of friends, what like family dynamic, what, like, it makes me wonder in what world did you grow up where like it's okay, it's still okay for you to do that. Like, to make mistakes is okay, but surely you've said something awful to someone before and then everyone's been like, hey, no, don't say that.
Yeah. I wonder if it kind of quashes the debate for him too, because you know when people get defensive, so then the argument keeps kind of propelling, but then he's like, no, I said that. And then I think it gets other people kind of on the back foot. They're like, well, he's just admitted to it. And now what?
Yeah,
it's
now
like
what?
fake self-awareness. He's not really self-aware about it, but he's
Yeah.
like, yeah, I said that. Like you said, it's just normal for him. So he's just kind of like, and then it's kind of done and dusted.
Yeah, and like, I mean, I think hiding what you've done was a big theme of my season. And I was actually thinking, like, I get asked all the time, like, what's your advice for the new cast? And it has always, number one, been don't hide shit. Don't. Someone's going to see it. Someone's going to know about it. You're going to let it slip when you're out for drinks off camera and someone's going to find out. Someone's going to get a bee in their bonnet. It's always going to come out. I literally went into MAFS going, my worst flaws could be on show in this. I've got to be really honest with myself about my past, about my, like, imperfections, and I need to be able to own those things. And like, it just, if you hide things, then it becomes this big build up. As we see, like, again and again, every single week, it's like all trying to expose a secret and do all of that. If you don't have those things and you just own it straight up and you go like, look, yeah, this is a flaw and this is a thing and I'm sorry about the outcome. Like, that's how to be accountable and kind of aware of what's going on, rather than being like, I'm just going to hide it and hope that nobody finds out about it and nobody brings it up. And then it becomes this thing of like, well, I'm angry at you for telling everyone.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, no, you did the thing and you hid it.
Imagine if everyone entered the experiment with that much, just like, I don't have it, like, I'm okay with all of my vulnerabilities coming out on TV. It would be such a different show if everyone had that perspective.
I do wonder, even on that kind of topic, that if people are clued in now and they're fans of the show and they've watched it, if they do come on with the approach of like, if I come across self-aware or if I admit to my wrongdoing or something, then I'll learn from like other past villains' mistakes of hiding things or of denying things that are caught on camera or whatever it may be. If people are going to keep coming in more clued into how they should act on TV versus actually just being themselves.
It's a theme, like, and it might not be a theme that comes out in like the TV version, but it's definitely a theme that comes around in the cast of like, everyone is questioning, are you doing this because you want to look good or are you doing it because you genuinely feel that way? It's a really big question. And even I think in the way that I delivered some things, like I really wanted to make a particular community proud and I really wanted to be proud of myself. And so I was thinking a lot about the things I was saying. I think that is good. I do. I think that is like, it's something I like about myself, that I have this consideration for how things are going to come across and I don't want to hurt anybody. But I also think that by the end of it, I really got in my head about it and I was so scared because I'd been told by people, well, you know, like, I'm going to ruin you. I'm going to, like, things are going to be bad, da, 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 da. So you just go like, ugh. I hope I don't say anything wrong. So it's like, it's this constant battle. And I think anyone that says they don't think it through is lying. Like, I think everybody's thinking about what they're saying all the time.
Speaking of people who are thinking about what they're saying, there's a clip we want to show you of Jack, and this is when Lauren and Jono are kind of confronting Jack and Tori about where they see their future going, and Jack says he's ready to have children with Tori within the space of a couple of years. So we'll show you the clip and then we'll discuss it further.
Life is at a point right now where I do have everything lined up. Job is good, house is good, no problems. I'm just missing the other piece, and that would be Tori. So yeah, absolutely have kids with you.
What the f***? Like, are you joking? Don't you need to have sex to have a child? Like, you're ready.
Yeah. I think time frame for having kids would be probably, I don't know, in the next 2 years.
Ooh.
Not in the next year, but in the next 2 years.
2 years, that's soon.
After
2 years?
I would be ready to it. If you said I wanted to have it in 2 years, things all going really well, I'm ready.
Do you believe him when he says he's ready in 2 years?
I think Jack thinks he's ready in 2 years. I don't know. I feel like, is he saying, like, you know, in 2 years' time, logistically, I could have kids? And saying it to Tori like, yeah, well, I could. He knows he's not going to have to follow through on that.
Feels
it's
like
2 years'
dangling a
time.
carrot a little bit in front of her. Like, she really wants to, she's been very open about wanting to have kids. And it kind of felt like she had been mad at him throughout that week and opening her eyes to some of his behavior. And then all of a sudden he's dangled this carrot of like, I would actually be ready really soon to have children.
Yeah, it feels like a bit of a card to play, I guess, when you're in a shaky spot with your partner, to be like, oh, yeah, by the way.
Yeah.
Like, no biggie. I think there's other ways as well to be like, yeah, I would have kids with you. I hope that happens at some point, but when we're ready, or like, you know, like you can kind of give that information without it being like, yeah, in 2 years' time, I'd be ready. And it's almost like a challenge to her to be like, if you make it 2 years, then we'll be good.
Yeah.
And I don't know, like I think he just does these things to get Tori back on side, and then she goes, he's choosing me, he wants me, and that's really special, and I'm really special to him specifically, and I've won him over in some way by giving him trust or backing him up or standing by him when he's done the wrong thing.
Did you and Cam have these conversations in the experiment about kids?
We did early on. We had like an honesty box question about like whether we wanted kids and all that kind of stuff. And he's always said that he wanted kids. And I'd always kind of been like, well, you know, I want to, but I'm not going to. And then that all changed. But I think the conversation was kind of around like having CF and what the genes would look like and like kind of what that process would be. And I was like, look, well, you'd have to be tested to see if you're a carrier, because then if you are, we've got like a 75% chance, I think, of having a child with CF. And as much as I now believe I would have a kid with CF, it's still something that's like really complicated. And, you know, would I wish it on anyone? No. Would I change it? No. Like, you know, it's a hard question. And if it can be avoided, I would do that. But, yeah. So it's hard because we had those conversations, but only when we were good. And it was never as like a, oh, we're not good. Well, what about, you know, what if we want to have kids together?
Yeah.
Like, you know, and that's, it feels like off the back of that, it's a bit questionable. I don't know if it's true. It's interesting timing.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick break and then we can unpack Jayden and Eden grilling Sarah on the cheating scandal. So as part of Feedback Week, we had Jayden and Eden writing questions for Sarah and Tim about their relationship, and Jayden really wanted to know if Sarah had deleted the text messages from her ex after they met up last week. Here's what she had to say.
Why would you delete them?
Because I feel like it's not, like, I feel like it was just literally like us meeting up, but like I don't feel like there's an issue.
Let's be honest, you don't just delete stuff for just meeting up. I've had guys that I go and meet up with that I haven't seen in ages, and it's just a one-time meet up, but I don't go and delete their messages. So there's a reason why you deleted them, and I think we both know what that is. Obviously there's stuff on there that would make Tim upset that you don't want him to see.
Yeah, I guess I don't really.
If the messages were still there, which they're not, but let's say they were, and Tim went through and read them, would he be upset with what he saw, or was it just friendly banter?
It would have just been friendly banter catching up.
Tim looks so uncomfortable.
Yeah, Tim's like, can I get out of here?
Does Jayden have a point?
I'm in two minds about Jayden because I know his brother did not like his experience on the show. I feel like Jayden in some ways is like, I'm going to be different and I am going to stand up and I am going to call out bad behaviour, because I know Mitch didn't, and I know it made his experience worse, you know. I saw how that played out for him. So there's a part of that. There's another part of like, there's never really a right way to bring up this kind of information, but I don't know if the way that Jayden's doing it is necessarily productive.
Yeah.
And I feel a bit icky about feeling that way. I do believe that Sarah's done the wrong thing here. I do. Like, I think that she's hiding things. And as I said, like, don't hide shit. If you don't hide shit, it's not going to come and bite you in the ass later, and someone will always find out or say something, and now it's very hard for her to come back from. Yeah, I don't know. I think Jayden has a point, though, about the text. Like, I think if she had nothing to hide, why would she delete them? Are they even deleted, or is she just saying that they're deleted so she doesn't have to show Tim?
I think it's sometimes, I'm with you on the Jayden thing too, because he's right. And it's good that he's asking the hard questions in a sense. But I think it's knowing your audience. Like, he kind of looks like he's having a good time doing it. And I think that's what I find a bit off-putting. Like, he's kind of sitting there with a bit of a smirk on his face. He's like, I know I've got you, like, in a corner here.
Yeah.
I don't know, and I don't know him, but it feels like he's more interested in and proving this point than he is about actually helping Tim.
Yeah. I don't think he cared about the answers that she had to say. It was just more getting across his point.
And I got that sense as well when he was up against Timothy. I just got this sense that he was asking these questions and he was like being like this, but wasn't actually trying to provide anything helpful.
No.
And I don't know. I mean, maybe we didn't see it and it happened off camera, but I don't think that he was really like man, I really care about Tim. This is going to hurt him. So I'm going to maybe tread carefully. I'm going to stick by him because that's what he deserves, because he's had something wrong done by him. But I don't know. I just don't get that sense. And then I feel like Eden's handling it completely differently in that she is being quite direct, but I think she understands the weight of the situation as well. And that's where I'm kind of like, I don't know, like that's on Jaden. But yeah, it does make me be a bit like,
it's a bit of an interrogation. Like he would be great on Law and Order SVU or something, just like down the desk, like firing the questions away at someone.
In your opinion, can you really be friends with an ex though?
I mean, I can. And
Okay.
I mean, I don't know if that's true for everyone. I'm not going out drinking with them. Also not people that I've hooked up with recently.
Yeah.
I've been friends with exes in the way that I dated them in high school and now we're family friends and we see each other at Christmas dues every year, you know, with their fiancés. But years have passed. We are not talking every day. We're not in any way catching up for a drink and we're not hanging out one-on-one. It's always such a fine line, and I think everybody has a different version of what they believe cheating is. I think a big portion of the wrongdoing is the hiding it. And unfortunately for Sarah, they have, like, production has just shown repeatedly. She came into the wedding thinking, oh, you know, maybe he's not over his ex. I remember watching that wedding and going, something bad's going to happen here, because they don't put things like that in there unless they come to fruition. It was the same with Tori's friend being like, it feels like misogynistic or something. Immediately, they would never have put that in there. I even said that to Rupert's friends when they were voxying after the wedding, Evelyn and Rupert's wedding. And I said to them, they were like, what do I do? I was like, just say what you feel. They're only going to use it if it makes sense.
Yeah,
So just say what you feel. Like,
It's really like little Easter eggs at the start now that you know that kind of stuff.
Yeah. It's so interesting watching this season, having been through it now, and like seeing what pieces of the puzzle they put together for my experience, and then like watching this new one and being like, wow, yeah.
When you see in Feedback Week, the couples are obviously writing these questions, planning these tasks for the other couples. From your experience then, how much influence would the producers have had in what they have to say?
I think that the producers' influence more comes from who they're choosing, in terms of like who they're putting together to provide this feedback.
Yeah.
And I think it's also the capacity in which they're allowed to do that. So like, for example, Richie and Andy writing a letter and giving a task. They don't even see Lucinda and Timothy. They just get the task, you know. They didn't want that to be a big blow up. I feel like putting Lauren and Jack in a room and being like, Lauren, you can ask any questions you want. They're asking for a discourse between two people that really don't like each other.
Looking back on your season, do you think anyone got a particularly good edit that maybe didn't deserve one? You don't have to say names if you don't want to.
Myself? No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I say that all the time. People are like, oh, you're so nice. And I'm like, no, I'm actually a person. I don't know. I don't know if it's such a hard question, right? Because my experience, I felt, was told. I felt like not the intricacies of it and not the depth of it, but I felt like as a general theme, about 80% of what they showed was a fair representation of the dinner parties and the circumstances that I witnessed. Like watching it, it was about 80% true. And I don't know, that hasn't changed over the course of being out of it for a year, you know? Yeah. It's a hard topic because I don't want to like invalidate other people's experiences either, because I think we all had such a different experience. Like I felt like I had free will to say what I wanted. I felt like I was quite proud of myself and whatever. Like it was still hard and it was still traumatic in a lot of ways, but you know, I felt like I did have a certain level of control, whereas I know that wasn't everyone's experience. So yeah.
And before we let you go, we've got an honesty box question for you.
Okay.
Bring out the box.
There's actually a box. Oh my God, and it's sparkly too. Oh, thank you. Oh. How would you say your current boyfriend compares to your MAFS exes? I mean, I'll just say ex there. I don't have MAFS exes. But my current boyfriend is universes away from my MAFS ex. We have issues and we have problems and all of that. I think any couple does, but I think that there was no hope in hell of me ever feeling the way that I do with my current boyfriend, with Cam. Ever. I don't think that was ever achievable. I think that he is a good person. I think that he has good values. I think that he stands up when it's important. I think he understands when I need to do that. I think that he is just, he sees me so much better than Cam ever could.
Have you had much communication with Cam since the show?
No, we did message. He fell off a roof a few weeks after reunion, to which I got a phone call being like, "Are you a witch? Have you done this?" And I was like, "No, I had nothing to do with that." And I did feel, at first I was like, I'm just going to check he's okay. And once I found out he was okay, I was like, well, you know. I didn't do it. I was like, well, he's fine. And it's all okay.
There's
you know
no
what?
like Cam voodoo doll.
No. I mean, I have made him in The Sims. he was the, like, okay, I don't know if I can. But basically I made everybody in The Sims and we did survival challenges. And literally the survival challenges, essentially I line up like 20-something telescopes. And there's a few people that get immunity based on the challenges that I did that week or that day. And everyone lined up to go sit at their telescope, and randomly the Sims will be like, oh, there's a meteor heading towards them. And it'll just happen. It'll just happen to whoever. I've got no control whatsoever over it. The second Sim Cam touched that telescope, it was like there's a meteor heading towards Cam. The first Sim to go was Cam. And I was like, this is, EA, they know. They know something, So
funny. I can't think of a better place to end this.
Yeah, that is perfect. Thank you so much for joining us, Lindle.
Thank you.
Problem. Thank you for having me.
Okay, so I thought Lindell's story about The Sims would be my favourite story that I've heard this week, or at least the wildest one, or most chaotic, as I like to say. But then Ash came in and told us everything that happened with Maddie on the show.
I am obsessed with this interview. Here is our chat with Ash. So we have Ash joining us. Welcome, Ash.
Thank you for having me.
Just picking up some Deb Ball vibes.
Can I just say something first? Blessings to you all.
Okay, so we want to start with the hard-hitting questions.
Go.
What happened at the Deb Ball?
Absolutely nothing. Nothing dramatic, nothing untoward, nothing. It was a normal Deb Ball that you go to. I don't even think we call it a Deb Ball. Don't we call it like a formal in Australia?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So it wasn't specifically a Deb Ball?
No, it's like a formal. Deb Ball's like American terminology. Yeah. It's called a formal, right?
It is, but there's also Deb Balls in Australia where like women come out to society. That happens in rural towns.
Okay.
Like it happened in my hometown where you can choose to do it. So I was like, oh, it's so random that this guy's been to a Deb Ball.
No, I've been to a formal and nothing happened. Absolutely nothing.
That you can remember? Or
Definitely nothing happened.
Okay.
So there was no anything crazy, no.
If we go back to the start of your MAFS experience, were you approached? Did you apply?
So I applied 2 years ago and I went through a lot of the application. I thought I was on. I was like, yeah, 100% on, because it's pretty extensive. It's like 3 months of interviews and things. I was like, for sure they want me on. And then I heard nothing. And then I seen that it was getting filmed and I was like, oh, I'm not on. Like, that sucks. Like, because you go through the whole application and it's pretty intense. Then, so we're going to say it was last year. I was going to say this year, last year, I got a call at the start of January saying, can you apply again? I'm like, no, if I have to go through the whole application again, absolutely not. I'm not doing it. They said, okay, fair enough. Bang. Didn't hear anything. I'd seen that obviously they'd been filmed, the weddings, the OGs. And then I got a call in July saying, we want you on. Can you get married 5 days? Go.
Wow.
Yeah, that was how I got on.
So did you have to quit your job or anything? Or
No, I didn't. I was lucky. So I rang my boss. He's like, no, take unpaid leave. I said, I can be there up to maybe 6 to 8 weeks, I think, as an intruder. He's like, yep, unpaid leave, all good. Lucky I didn't quit my job.
Yeah.
In hindsight. So they were really good. My company was really good. But yeah, 5 days, got 10 family members over, bang, got married.
How did you feel about being an intruder at all?
It was rough. It was really rough because you have all these cliques already formed and friendships, and I'm coming in with Maddie, who I'm not getting along with. And then you have to come into a dinner party. It was so daunting, standing behind that door. You can hear everyone talking and you're like, well, they're going to ask questions and we're not in a good place and we've just had a show of a honeymoon. So it was quite tough.
What was the days difference between kind of filming the honeymoon and then going to the first dinner party?
So the honeymoon was 5 or 6 days. Then we went back to Sydney and we had 2 days apart. And then we had 1 day together, then dinner party. So
Wow.
3 days.
Right, so kind of one day of living together.
Yep.
Yeah.
In Sydney, they put us in some apartment. Yeah.
And did they film anything for that, or were you guys just
No,
kind of...
just they didn't film. So we were together for maybe 12 hours, but they'd only filmed when we went to the dinner party. So before.
Yeah, okay. How did you find the moving into Sky Suites process?
So we actually didn't. We only got into Sky after the ceremony, and
right.
so we're only there for one night. So we're in like separate apartments, or like not separate, but different apartments to Sky. They keep you like away. So I didn't really get the Sky experience.
So you were paired with Maddie, the psychic medium, obviously.
Yep.
What was your wedding day like?
Yeah, it was crazy. Like it was hard to like get my head around what was happening. But yeah, it was wild. Like a lot of stuff didn't make the air. It was wild, crazy. It was like a 17-hour day, maybe 16-hour days. Yeah, it's a big day.
So did she have any attributes, or when you guys were having conversations even off camera, where you were kind of like, oh, we have common goals or values or anything?
Nothing.
Or was complete opposite matching?
Wow.
Nothing matched. Nothing. Absolutely nothing.
So how did you feel going into the honeymoon? Obviously we saw your honeymoon and there was a bit of chaos.
Yeah, there was a lot of chaos that didn't make it to TV.
Right. Okay.
So we went to the honeymoon and it just spiraled from there. Yeah, you only got a taste of what went on. It was crazy.
What were some of these moments we didn't get to see?
Oh, well, you didn't see jumping on tables, screaming at the universe, rolling around on the floor, not participating in any activity that we did. So, like, we went on a boat, she hated it. We did, like, clay, hated it, didn't participate. Just wild antics.
So did you guys have any chats even on the honeymoon where you kind of got to know each other and know each other's backgrounds or anything, or was it mainly just time together when filming? Yeah,
when there was no like cameras around, it was basically dead silence.
Wow.
And I was trying like just to like get to know her and nothing.
Yeah, so you didn't know much about her
I don't know
background
anything
as
about
an actress or...
So she brought that up probably 2 days into the honeymoon or a day, and she's like, I did acting, but she didn't really elaborate how extensive it was, and I've obviously found that out later. So she did tell me, in fairness, but she's like, she stopped doing that and she found her true calling, which was being a psychic. And I was like, that's fine. Like, I'm open. Like, I want to learn about, you're my wife. For the sake of the experiment, you're my wife. And she just couldn't give me an answer about like what it's like to be a medium. She just couldn't answer it.
So you were open to her abilities at least? You weren't fully skeptical?
Yeah, absolutely. I love learning new things. So I was like, I don't know anything about it. It'd be crazy of me to judge this occupation or whatever, because there's obviously more out there, like, do you know what I mean, in terms of the spiritual world. And I'm fully open for it. So I was like, I was waiting for something to come up, but the dead ball came up and I was like, no, that doesn't make sense. So nothing came up that made any sense to me.
And now we found out you didn't actually even go to a dead ball, just
went to a formal. Yeah, I know. Formal.
Were there any other psychic moments she had that weren't shown?
Yeah, there was one other. She's like, Shay, who's Shay? And I was like, I've never known a Shay in my life. So it was that one plus the dead ball, and then nothing else. She didn't get any other psychic downloads. So I was like, well, they don't make any sense to me. So
yeah.
How soon into the experience then do you start thinking, okay, this isn't going to work out?
The morning after the wedding, I was like, there's something, the vibe wasn't there. Like, I was like, this is just weird. I don't know if I'm just in a new experience and everything feels weird, but it just felt weird being around her. I was like, is this how it's meant to feel? But yeah, the day after the wedding, I was like, nah, something's off.
Did you get a chance to talk to any of the other couples then, when you get to meet them and stuff, about their relationships and, you know, kind of having that weird energy? Because you are with a stranger, so I guess in some ways you want to give it time to get to know them. And then did the other couples give you any advice?
For sure, yeah. Great point. At the dinner party, they actually did. They were all like, it's very early on, and they put that in my head. They're like, you know, Sarah said, oh, me and Tim were fighting 2 weeks ago now. At that time, they were in a really good place. And I was like, yeah, you know what? That's true. It's very early on. It is. We've come all this way. Like, I've flown to Sydney. So absolutely, yeah, like, I should probably give this another week. And that's why I wrote Stay at the CC.
Yeah.
And then when I wrote Stay, all the other couples were like in shock. And I was like, well, you told me to stay. And they're like, yeah, we did. So in fairness, but they were totally caught off guard by her too. And like at the commitment ceremony, it was an explosion. It didn't even really make it to air what actually happened. Like but she was just screaming at me.
What about? What were
she
you
was saying she was vulnerable. She opened up to me and she came here for love, and I messed it all up. I'm like, what are you talking about? Like, literally, I was looking at her like, what are you talking about? She's like, oh, and the other couples didn't know what happened on the honeymoon. So they were like, oh, did she open up? And he's been a d***head. And then they've watched it all back. And quite a few have texted me saying, well, we're so sorry. We didn't know this happened. So, but they didn't know. Like, no one knew. They just had seen what had happened on the couch and at the dinner party. So,
yeah, of course. And did the experts give you any good advice in any of that sit-down process?
Mel was really good. And she actually said to like Maddie, she's like, well, what you're saying or what you've done, like, can you see how this is affecting Ash? But she took no accountability. She's like, no, I can't. So yeah, Mel was really awesome. John really didn't say anything, and Alessandra didn't really say anything. I think they were caught off guard too.
Yeah.
I think they were in shock.
There were rumours that Maddie went on the show acting. Like, all of this was a performance. Now that you know that she was an actress, is there any thoughts that she was just acting?
Oh, yeah, potentially. Like, she may have acted the cow scene, like, because actors know how to cry on cue, right? So potentially, yeah, she may have been acting, but I think that's just her. Like, you just don't know what you're going to get. Anything goes. So, are you asking if I thought she came on here as an actor to trick everyone?
Yeah.
No,
or even,
I don't think so. No,
Okay.
I don't think so.
Or to boost her acting career and all
I
of
don't
that.
think
That was
so.
one of the
No,
rumours.
I don't think so. But we'll soon find out.
Yeah. Have you spoken to her at all since you left the show?
No, we haven't spoke. No contact. Zero contact.
What can you tell us about the reunion then that's coming up?
Stay tuned. Stay tuned.
Okay.
Even just a little sneak peek.
Oh, you probably know more than me. I sat with Stephen and we had a couple drinks and we stayed out of the drama.
Okay.
I wasn't part of the drama.
It's probably the best way to be after
Yeah.
your hectic
Yeah, I was
time
like,
on the
I'm
show.
fully done with this.
What's your relationship like with the rest of the cast?
Yeah, good. I made a lot of friendships, which is good. And as I said, it was really hard to like form those friendships when they're already cliquey. And yeah, I made a lot of friends: Jack, Tori, Steve, Mike, Ben, Tim, older Tim. So yeah, it's been good. Nat. Yeah.
Yeah, on the Nat stuff,
Oh,
there was
yeah.
rumours that you guys were maybe dating or romantically involved. What do you have to say about that?
Nat's a very, very beautiful person, and I wish her all the best in life, but we are just friends. But yeah, I hope she finds love, and she absolutely deserves it.
Is there anyone in the cast that you wish you were matched with?
Yeah, I've been asked this question a few times. Are you going to ask my perfect match?
We've got the photo ranking challenge. No.
Oh, okay. No, I'd say Cass.
Okay.
Yeah, in hindsight, she would have been a good match. Yeah, she's as authentic as what you see on TV. In real life, she's really good.
Amazing. You mentioned being friends with Jack and Tori. They're obviously copping a lot of heat at the moment
They are.
on the show. Is what you're seeing on screens the same as what they were like in real life when you were forming a friendship with them?
Well, it's a good question. Like, no, and I don't agree with a lot of things Jack's done or said. I don't agree with it, but I can only judge them how they treated me and my family on my wedding day and obviously after. And when I did leave the show, Jack was the first one to ring me. Basically, he was the first one to ring me and say, are you okay, etc., etc. So I can only judge him how he's treated me. I don't agree with what he said or what he's done on the show. And yeah, that's as blunt as I can put it.
How did you feel watching your edit then? Obviously, you go through it all. You've had this crazy experience.
Yep.
Is what was aired what you expected?
No, I expected them to show a lot more, as I said. I expected them to show a lot more of what Maddie was doing, but they just didn't. They just kicked us off, basically. But it's really hard watching yourself on TV. It's really, really hard. Like, my eyes were, like, beaming a lot of the time. That's because I was just probably under pressure, but I'm not normally like that. And, yeah, what you seen on the couch, that was 3 a.m.
Yeah.
So, like,
of
I've
course.
caught my eyes were, like, yeah, really bloodshot, but that's because I was so tired and just mentally drained.
Oh, if anything, I just thought you were scared. Like, terror. Like,
Yeah,
get me
that's
out
what
of
everyone's
here.
like, were you scared of it? I was like, no, I was just drained. I was just over it. Like, I was tired. Like, I was just, fully over it.
So we saw you write we saw you write Stay, obviously.
Yeah.
And then the next morning on the show, you were like, okay, no, it's done, dusted. Maddie
Yeah.
was gone. She didn't have another scene. What was the process after the commitment ceremony to you leaving?
So, as I said, the CC, the commitment ceremony, it was more of an explosion than what the viewers seen. And I've said this before, like, she then told Jaden to shut up on the couch. And she's like, no, I love you, Jaden. And he's like, you don't even know me. And I was just like, it's too much up and down. And she was yelling at me. And I was like, I'm done, man. Like, I'm fully done. Like, I don't give a shit that I wrote Stay. Like, I'm leaving. So I rang my producer in the morning. And I was like, get me out of here. And they probably didn't try to convince me. They brought a few other producers in just to have a chat, friendly chat. And I think they realised that, yeah, they're not going to film any more of us. And then they brought her in. And then we had one last showdown that they didn't air.
Wow.
Like an argument.
Yeah, another screaming match of her telling me that she was vulnerable and open to love and it was all my fault. I was like, what are you talking about? And then, yeah, they just didn't air it.
Wow.
Yeah, that's how it went, yeah. So the only 1 minute scene you seen of me leaving was not how it happened, but TV
Yeah,
land,
right.
that's how it happened.
It's
Okay,
hectic.
wow.
Yeah.
Well, given your time was so short on the show, would you ever do it again if they asked you to come
To
back?
marry a stranger? No way, absolutely not. One and done. I'm done. I wouldn't marry a stranger, nah. I mean, I've done it all, like, yeah, nah.
Would you do reality TV again now?
Maybe Survivor, maybe SAS, something, I don't know, anything.
Okay.
Not
Would you
dating.
do another dating show?
Nah, not dating. Nah,
Okay.
nah.
So not The Bachelor or...
Why, what have you heard? Nah, I don't think so.
And since the show, have you gone back and watched Home and Away at all? Or Wentworth, any of Maddie's previous work?
No, I haven't, no. It's a Maddie ban. I need to heal.
Yeah. What has the process been like to heal off the show then?
Oh, watching it back was pretty hard.
Yeah.
Because I had in my head, I thought I was going crazy. Like, I'd seen things, right? Like, I was there. I witnessed her have the visions and jumping on tables. And then I'm like, did that actually happen? Or am I making it up? Because producers don't tell you that. Like, they're just saying, how does it make you feel? They're not saying, yeah, we seen that. That was crazy. They don't. So you're like, am I going crazy here? And then watching it back, I was like, yeah, that really happened. So I was ringing my family and they're like, you're being too sensitive. Like, you've come all this way, you know, just stick it out. And then they watch it back. They're like, yeah, we're sorry. So it was pretty rough to watch it back. It was. But
Is there anything you'd do differently looking back on it?
nah, not really. Nah, just hope I didn't get it Maddie. But nah, I wouldn't do anything different. Because I know I can hold my head up high and I was authentic as I could be. And I know why I was there. I wanted to find love and to find someone, and yeah, so I wouldn't do anything different.
What would your message be to MAFS fans then?
It is a TV show, eh? Like, we are real people, but yeah, it is a TV show. So it's what you see, like, that's what they're saying, but it could be a bit edited out of context. But I guess no one made anyone say anything that they didn't want to say on the show. So you can't, I feel that you can't say, I got a bad edit. I just don't believe that.
Back on the jumping on tables thing for a second, was that just like after, you know, a dinner or a couple drinks or like a party vibe, or was it just like completely out of the blue?
First night of honeymoon, day one, having a nice wine, watching the sun go down.
Right.
And so I came in because producers were asking me, when are you going to ask her about being a psychic? And I was like, when the time's right, when the vibe, like, I'm open for it. And I was like, all right, let me set the scene. Sun's coming down, nice wine. It's a good time to ask your wife what she does, right? I thought so. So I'm like, Maddie, like, I know nothing about it. Like, I want to know. I didn't laugh. I'm like, I want to know, like, what it's like to be a psychic. Like, where do you work? How does it work? Et cetera, et cetera. She's like, are you a police officer? I was like, no, I'm in sales. Why? She's like, I feel like you're interrogating me. I'm like, I'm just asking you a question. And then that's when she jumped on the table and
Right.
I was like, day one, far out. That's crazy.
Did she ask you any questions about yourself?
Nothing. She doesn't know anything about me.
Yeah,
Like,
okay.
She would have seen when it was aired, all that. She knew nothing about my life.
Wow.
She probably doesn't even know my name. Honestly, no. She probably doesn't even know my name. She's like, oh, yeah, I was matched with Aaron on MAFS. Seriously, I'm...
Yeah, he was a police officer.
Yeah, he's a police officer. He interrogated me. He's a detective now. She wouldn't know anything about me.
Wow.
Does it make you scared to go back into the dating world now, or are you fine with it?
No, not scared, and I may be seeing someone.
Oh,
you know,
okay.
There's a spicy
Yeah,
tea.
so I'm not scared. No, it's early days, but things are going good.
Did
so.
they watch your journey?
Yeah.
It's someone that I've known from the past. We never dated, but yeah, it's just someone I had known.
Yeah. Did you meet at a dead ball?
Nah, no dead balls. She might have been at that dead ball though.
Maybe that was a sign all along.
Maybe, yeah.
True.
Oh,
And what was the
far out.
name that Maddie was saying to you?
Shay.
Is that their name?
No.
Okay.
If it was,
Yeah, it's all making
yeah,
sense.
it's all making sense, and I've thrown her under the bus.
Are we police officers? I
don't know.
My name is Shay.
You could be. You are interrogating me.
True.
It's true.
Was there anything else you wanted to unpack from your experience?
No, nothing I can think of. I mean, it was quite the journey. It honestly
Yeah.
was. It was short, sharp, but I think like what happened with us was just, like the way I put it, it's like when you watch a movie, like you always remember that explosion scene, right? Like that was me and Maddie. It's just everyone remembers us because it was just bat.
It was definitely entertaining.
Yeah, I'm glad for you guys.
Probably the most memorable intruders for a while, I would say.
Yeah, I think so, yeah. So, I mean, everyone's been super nice to me, so I can't complain.
Well, thank you so much for coming in.
Thank you for having me.
Well, what a day.
What a day.
What an episode. Thank you so much for listening to this week's episode of Behind the Edit.
If you like this episode, make sure to leave us a 5-star review, please.
Make sure you follow us on all our socials, sign up to our exclusive newsletter, and join our Facebook group. All the links will be in the show notes.
We'll see you next week. Until then, we'll be playing The Sims.
Behind the Edit is brought to you by Yahoo Australia, hosted by Lachlan, Guertin and Tahlia Pritchard, produced by Caitie Browne, social production by Alexa Tubertini. Yahoo Australia would like to acknowledge the Gadigal People of the Eora Nation, the traditional owners of the land on which this podcast was recorded, and pay our respects to elders past and present.